We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the POMcast. I am Stephen Willis from the Palatial Central Florida studios. Technology kind of just got us. We did a whole show. We live streamed. And it just kind of got us. So we're going to try and recreate that as best we can. It might be a little bit shorter show, so we apologize for that. I just looked in trying to upload to SoundCloud, and it was like 17 minutes. And I was like, I was up for 27 at least. So there's obviously a problem. Before we get started, I do want to tell you about the Vault Society. That is the big push from the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation. A Vault Society support, which is a 5-year commitment. Membership starts at $5,000 a year, and there's a benefit chart on the site. We're going to get to that in just a second. All gifts to Ole Miss between now and June 30th will receive triple points. Red points are non-deductible and go towards priority seating. Blue points are 90% tax deductible and go towards parking and non-home ticketed games. That'd be postseason, bowl games, neutral site. There's one coming up Labor Day that would fit into that nicely. If you have any questions about that, go to give2athletics.com, give2athletics.com. I do want to tell you, you can watch the show on Twitter at The Stephen Willis and at The Rebel Walk, on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast or The Rebel Walk, and you can catch us on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications at Positively Ole Miss. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about. So go to YouTube. We also have like things like the greatest games of all time, 2020 games on demand. All the press conferences end up there. It's a pretty cool little setup we have going on at YouTube. We're also on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. If you prefer audio, you can catch our audio at Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. I think that's all of them. That would be our podcast options. Also, this month, on June 16th, we are 2/3 of the way to our all-time record in the podcast. We don't even promote it. It just happens on its own, so thank you very much for that. Now, getting into this, we're going to talk about how essentially there's a new list from the Sporting News. And in that list, let me bring it up here real quick. They actually do a pretty decent job. There's not a lot of ways I can nitpick all over the place on rankings and things like that. But there's not many that I just disagree with. I mean, the one I disagree with is probably number 24. But we'll get into that. So let me go over this list real quick with you. You can hit me up in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter with your opinion on that. And just remember also, speaking of that, our Rebel rankings are coming out Friday. The first episode of that, Friday at 2 o'clock, the most electrifying non-QB offensive player in Ole Miss history. We've been putting out honorable mentions all week. Players like A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, Corey Philpott, J.R. Ambrose, Timmy Moffitt, those guys, honorable mention. Elijah Moore as well. So who are the most electrifying non-QB offensive players in Ole Miss history? Tune in at 2 o'clock. Put a comment below the video if you have a problem with the rankings. It's just the way I would do it. Next week, by the way, a little preview for the second edition of Rebel Rankings will be the greatest upset of all time. That will be pretty cool. And this is going to be football only for the time being, but it should be a lot of fun. So let's get to the list without further ado. Number 25, UCLA, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I have no problem with that. He fits the mold of a quarterback that Chip Kelly would have back when he was at Oregon. He reminds you a little bit of Jeremiah Masoli. I can't remember the name of the other quarterback. I think he was the one that got him to the national championship game. The one right after Marcus Mariota. But he's coming in at number 25. Archie just came in. All right. My dog's named Archie. Number 24, Bo Nix, Auburn. Unless it's a top 100 list, I do not want to see Bo Nix's name on it. He struggles at all times with his accuracy. And whenever a player is known basically for getting yards with his feet and he's not very elite doing it, he just doesn't need to be on it. I think people are assuming that he's going to make a jump with Brian Harsin, which might actually happen, but there's just nothing at this point to even really acknowledge that that's a possibility. Jarek Doge going to West Virginia. Number 23. He's a Texas Tech quarterback back in the day, but they, I just don't know. Up with Neil Brown. At number 23 is like, could we gotten away with a top 20 list so these names didn't pop up there? I don't know. Tanner Morgan, number 22, Minnesota. Backup quarterback in high school. I don't know if people know that. IMG High School in Florida. Good quarterback. Has won some games. A little bit limited, but he's actually performed really well. Emory Jones, number 21, Florida. This one is all up to Dan Mullen. Completely up to Dan Mullen. If they try to fit a square peg in a round hole by asking him to run the Kyle Trask offense, he's going to struggle. It's not his game. If he is going to run the Nick Fitzgerald, Chris Relf offense that Dan Mullen has run, with play action passes and things like that, he could be superlative and end up a top 10 to top 15 quarterback on the year. It's all up to Dan Mullen. I don't think he's going to screw this up, but he absolutely could, especially whenever you look at who else he has to play on this list. Spencer Sanders, Oklahoma State, injured at the beginning of last year. That's probably the reason he's so low. By the end of the year, he was actually playing quite well. Malik Cunningham, if you have any questions about him, you can look down there for the preview with Cameron Teague of the Louisville Courier Journal about Louisville before we play our game. He had 200-yard rushing games. Accuracy is a problem. Turnovers are a problem last year. So explosives are on the menu for a team defense that is built to have explosive plays. C.J. Stroud, Ohio State, I don't know. First game, I don't know. He's in a three-way battle. I don't know which one you rank there. I don't know which one you don't. If it wasn't a battle, he'd already be named. But I'm assuming he's a good quarterback since he's Ohio State, but that's all that people are doing right now is assuming he would be a good quarterback. Phil Jurkovec at Boston College, number 17, Notre Dame transfer. Can be statuesque. That's about all I know about him. Malik Willis, Liberty, I kind of like this level for him being ranked. I don't like seeing rankings with him in the top 6. I don't like seeing rankings with him in the top 10. He's a good quarterback. If Gus Malzahn would have continued with Nick Marshall and put Malik Willis in there instead of trying to force a drop-back passing game, they'd have been better off because he brings a running aspect to the offense and actually throws the ball fairly well as well. The comparison, though, would probably be Nick Marshall. Carlson Strong, Nevada, I don't know. Jaden Daniels, Arizona State, good quarterback. The problem with Arizona State is they're in a little bit of hot water right now for potentially hosting visits during the COVID dead period. Michael Penix Jr., known for one touchdown against Penn State. He threw the ball fairly well against Ohio State. You saw the team. It was a decent team last year in the bowl game that Ole Miss beat against Indiana. Grayson McCall, number 12. I don't know how you can put him above Malik Willis. Malik Willis beat him. Number 11, Bryce Young, Alabama. Good quarterback. I think he's too high. You look at backup quarterbacks. He played less as a backup than Tua did and Mac Jones did, and the whole group of quarterbacks preceding him. He played less than they did. Brock Purdy, Iowa State, needs to cut down on the turnovers. Good quarterback, though, and Iowa State making an Access Bowl last year. It's a real deal. JT Daniels, Georgia. Love JT Daniels. He's the second-rated quarterback in the SEC behind Matt Corral to me. As long as Kirby takes his thumb off the offense and lets him perform, he has a chance to do really special things at Georgia. And honestly, I don't know everything they have, but this could be the year for Georgia. Look out for the Bulldogs going forward. De'Aaron King, number 8, Miami. I love De'Aaron King. I think a little bit that Rhett Lashley kind of square pegs, round holes him a little bit, and that's the air raid aspects that he picked up at SMU. The aspects that are most dangerous in this offense will be what he learned from Gus Malzahn. Desmond Ridder, Cincinnati, good quarterback. I just don't see it. I think he's a little bit too high. I think he's an athlete playing quarterback at this point. Keaton Slovis, same thing. He was an air raid guy. Anytime you have an air raid guy, they're going to put up massive numbers. They're going to be ranked higher than they should be because people that don't actually watch what's going on are actually making the rankings. Dylan Gabriel, UCF. Unbelievably intrigued by this. Gus Malzahn at Central Florida in that offense with a statuesque quarterback. Some people say Dylan Gabriel can run better than I give him credit for. Fine. He's probably at best at the level of Jarrett Stidham, but everybody knows Gus Malzahn's offense would function better with a De'Aaron King calling the shots, Nick Marshall calling the shots, Malik Willis calling the shots. But him being obsessed with becoming a drop back passer is the real chink in his armor right now. All right, Matt Corral, Ole Miss, number 4. He's kind of where he needs to be. This is the first time I've seen a national list where he's actually kind of where he needs to be. Top in the SEC, putting up yards, putting up numbers. Yeah, it's a good pick. And they actually said Corral's playmaking skills make him an intriguing Heisman sleeper. It's a good list. DJ Ugalele, I think I got that right, from Clemson. I don't know. He's got 2 starts. Phil Longo. It could be Jordan Tamu back there doing the same through the Phil Longo experience. We know what that does. 255 yards a game. And having a little over 2. There's probably 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the Big 12 that can do the same thing. So it's Corral. And why one is, you can see Matt Corral to have a zip. Or I am going to tell you a little bit, just as a PSA and it needs to be said. Whenever you hear the phrase unnamed sources, and are they hearing it eighth hand? Are they hearing it 15th hand? The person in front of them. They name the sources is where they sit on that line of telephone game. They could be telling you, taught me a little bit about this. 10 years at Rivals.com. A combination of unnamed sources, trust. On the subscribe, and it's not just Ole Miss, it's every school. Every school be intentional. But any business is in the business of making money, and they're banking their money from a coaching search off that. They're working towards the next coaching search. Whether they want to or not, constantly looking for coaching searches to feed information because they want to play the unnamed. So just be careful whenever you hear information around the coach. And whichever one you bet on, no prediction. they're wanting something to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're not going to play the rumor game. We're not going to play the whisper game. We do not try to wag the dog to create a narrative around. I'm just here because completely relevant. And this site would not be the same as it is if I went off on those entire things. I seconds of so and so. You're not going to get credit because you have 60 seconds worth of information. What is but we think that going out and rushing out trying to break stories is a waste of time. Because we are all on free content here at Positively Ole Miss. That's people that come here expecting certain things genuinely want to be here for football season. It's going to be well worth it. Reading show. I mean, there's going to be a show every day for you. So it's going to be really cool during football season. I had to take a call, and we were thinking about doing a call-in show once a week thing, but we'll see. Thank you very much.